What's up everybody, welcome back to the channel, and Manchester United are back in action again, and this time it's in the Europa League. The Europa League, the Champions League and the Conference League have got a new format this season whereby you've got 36 teams competing against each other in a league format whereby each team plays 8 matches, 4 at home and 4 away. So last season and seasons previous, of course, you played 6 games in a group stage format, 3 games at home and 3 games away, and you played each team twice. This time you're playing 8 games, but you're playing 8 different teams. The top 8 of the league phase advance to the round of 16. The teams finishing 9th to 16 advance to the knockout phase playoffs, and they are seeded. The teams finishing 17th to 24th advance to knockout phase playoffs, and they are unseeded. And the teams finishing 25th to 36th are eliminated from the competition with no chance to go into other competitions, which I like, to be quite honest with you. I didn't see the point of whereby a team would get eliminated from a competition, but then because they finished third in the Champions League group stage, they would then go into the Europa League, or they would go into the Conference League or whatever. I wasn't a fan of that personally, to be plainly honest. You know, if you're eliminated from a competition, I don't believe that you have the right to kind of go into another competition. Once you're eliminated, you should be eliminated. So yeah, I do like the format, but I think it is a little bit too many games, to be honest with you. But we'll see how it pans out. This is the first season whereby this new format is taking place. And last week we did see the Champions League teams kick off their campaigns in this format. So yeah, in terms of Manchester United, they are facing FC Twente in the first match of the Europa League league phase. And FC Twente, the manager is Joseph Oosting, who is 52 years of age, and he was appointed manager in July 2023. FC, in his first season, last season, they finished third with 69 points, 15 points behind second placed Feyenoord, which is kind of a lot. They had they scored 69 goals. They had goals against, they had 36, and goal difference was 33. They did of course qualify for the Champions League third qualifying round because they finished third in the Eredivisie, and that's what you get. You qualify for the Champions League third qualifying round, but they were, unfortunately for them, beaten by Red Bull Salzburg, who 5-4 on aggregate, who did end up to go on to qualify for the Champions League. So I think FC Twente, they could have easily been in the Champions League this season if they had obviously won their qualifying match and then their playoff round after that. I think they had to play 2 games after that. I'm pretty sure Red Bull Salzburg had to play another match after that to kind of actually qualify for the Champions League. So yes, in fact they did, yeah. So Red Bull Salzburg, they beat Twente 2-1 at home, and then they drew with them away 3-3, and then they won against them 5-4 on aggregate, and then Salzburg went on to beat Dynamo Kiev 3-1 on aggregate. So then they qualified for the Champions League league stage. So of course, I think FC Twente, they could easily be in the Champions League if they had kind of beaten Red Bull Salzburg. But again, Manchester United be coming into this competition because they won the FA Cup last season. Man United, they finished 8th last season and didn't qualify for the Conference League either. So a very poor league campaign for Manchester United, meaning they didn't qualify for any European competition, and they are only in the Europa League because they won the FA Cup against Manchester City, against all odds, I must say, when they won 2-1 at Wembley in what was a very deserved victory, and Erik ten Hag's second trophy in his second season at the club, which isn't too bad, to be honest with you. But of course, the league form was very bad last season. It was an absolute car crash. And some people are saying, you know, that final kept Erik ten Hag his job, and I think I would tend to agree, to be honest with you. I think if he had lost that final, obviously we're not in the Europa League, and we probably have a different manager. Anyway, in terms of FC Twente, they are currently 4th in Eredivisie with 11 points. They've had a decent start to the season. They've won 3 games, drawn 2 and lost 1. They've scored 12 goals, conceded 5, and have a goal difference of 7. And they are recently coming away with a 5-0 win against Elmere in the Eredivisie. And before that, Elmere, that was away from home. And before that, they played Heerenveen. Heerenveen, I think that's how you pronounce it, and they won that game 2-0 as well. So they're coming away with some decent form. And before that, they drew. Before that, they lost. And the first game of the season, they won the first game of the season. Then they drew. Then they lost, then they drew again, and then they won, and then they won. So they are coming into this game with some decent form. They are unbeaten in their last 3 league games. So they are coming into this game with some decent form, just like United as well. Man United are coming away with 3 clean sheets and 2 victories in the last 3 games as well. So both teams coming into this game with some decent form. In terms of team news for FC Twente, you've got Mitchell Sadelic, who is out recovering from an injury he suffered in a freak bicycle accident prior to Euro 2024, and Yunus Taha, who has a broken leg, unfortunately for them. So in terms of tactics, how do FC Twente set up? Usually they set up in a 4-2-3-1 formation. And it's a kind of a standard formation that everyone in Europe is setting up with. The standard 4-2-3-1 can kind of switch to a 4-4-2 as well if you've got the number 10 pressing both the centre backs. So in terms of FC Twente as well, they like to play with intensity. They like to press high and want to dominate ball possession. In that game against Elmere, where they won 5-0, they did in fact have 61% possession. So they dominated the game. They had 86% pass accuracy as well. So they like to kind of dominate ball possession. They like to dominate the ball. They like to kind of win the ball back with aggression as well. And when they don't have possession, they set up in a 4-5-1 low block. They are aggressive. They like to play with an aggressive high press, and they are quick on the counters and any turnovers. You see men being pushed forward in different areas. The fullbacks getting forward and involved as well. They counter press as well after losing possession. The wingers and midfielders making forward runs, trying to overload the back line. And they've got fluid rotations and are tactically quite flexible. I think the manager is a little bit unknown, but he's done a decent job with them finishing 3rd last season. And in-game adjustments, he does in-game adjustments which are quite effective as well, and he has proactive substitutions as well that maintain that pressing structure that he wants to see. In terms of their star man, I think their star man is Sam Stein. This guy, he's got 7 goals and 1 assist in 8 games so far this season. And overall, since he joined the Eredivisie, he's got 29 goals and 5 assists in 50 starts in the Eredivisie since joining, and that's from the number 10 position in midfield. That's pretty good going in my opinion, and he's a pretty underrated attacking midfielder, I think, as well. He's only 22 years of age, and I think he's got a good, decent career ahead of him. In terms of overall his appearances, he's got 67 appearances and for FC Twente, and he's got 29 goals, which, you know what, that is a pretty decent return. I know he's playing in the Eredivisie, but it is a decent league at the end of the day, not a farmers league. It might be a farmers league, I'm not sure. I don't really watch Eredivisie, but in terms of stats, that is a pretty decent return. So Man United would need to keep him quiet if they want to get a clean sheet. He is their star man. He is good at creating chances, and he's got good movement in the final third as well. And very good technical number 10, very good dribbler as well. So Man United are going to have to keep him quiet. He did score twice on the weekend against Elmere as well, so he's in pretty good goal scoring form. And then again before that against Heerenveen, he did score twice again as well last week on Tuesday. So he's coming into this game with some pretty decent form. Unlike Manchester United's forwards, they're not in particularly good form, especially in the Premier League. I know Man United did score 7 against Barnsley, but we have to take into account it is League One opposition, and it is in the League Cup. But in terms of Man United, the team news for Manchester United, it is pretty much the same team that faced Crystal Palace. Erik Ten Hag says he's got the same squad. to face his former club FC Twente in the Europa League. But so you've got the same players that are out. You've got Shaw, Malacia, Euro and Lindelof who are out still. Lindelof and Malacia have resumed some work at Carrington, but they are still out in terms of matchday squads. We did see a return for Mason Mount and Hojlund back in training, and they were in the squad against Palace. Of course, Hojlund did come off the bench for a couple of minutes to try grab a goal against Palace, which he was unable to do so, and he didn't really have an impact off the bench in my opinion. Man United again come into this game with 3 clean sheets and 2 victories in the past 3 games. So Man United be coming into this game with some decent form as well. Of course, on the weekend, it was a very disappointing result to be drawing 0-0 against Crystal Palace after dominating the first half. If only Manchester United had put away some chances in that first kind of 45, 60 minutes, and Man United are coming away with all 3 points. But unfortunately, it wasn't to be. So, in terms of my starting 11, who am I going with? This is my starting 11. So I'm going with the same back 5 because I've been pretty impressed with them. Onana, Mazraoui, De Ligt, Martinez and Dalot. I wouldn't be surprised if Erik ten Hag does rotate the back line as well, because you've got so many fixtures coming up, you've got fixture pile up, and you've got a very important league game against Spurs on the weekend at Old Trafford. So I wouldn't be surprised to see the back line kind of change up. But personally, I would go with Man United's strongest back line, because we did see this back line against Southampton and they kept a clean sheet. And we did see this back line against Crystal Palace and they kept a clean sheet. Of course, against Barnsley, we saw Dalot, Maguire, Evans and Collier start. I personally don't think Erik ten Hag is going to rotate that heavily with regards to the back line. But I wouldn't be surprised if he does, because rotation, he's talked about how players are playing too many games and it's not good for them, and fixture pile up. So I wouldn't be surprised if he does rotate. Personally, I wouldn't, because I want to be going on to win the Europa League competition, because I don't think Man United are strong enough to be finishing in the top 4 in the Premier League. But that's just me. In terms of my midfield, I'm going with Casemiro and Ugarte. I think Ugarte's only started 1 game for United so far, and I think that was in the League Cup, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just check. I'm pretty sure he did start against Barnsley. Yes, he did. So Casemiro and Ugarte did start against Barnsley in the League Cup. I think I might have said FA Cup. Yeah, in the League Cup, Casemiro and Ugarte started, and Ugarte came on. He played for about 60 minutes and he was decent. So and European football as well is something that Ugarte is used to, having been played in the Champions League for PSG. So I would like to see them in the central midfield. Then I've got Rashford on the left. I think Rashford was a little bit unfortunate to not be starting against Crystal Palace on the weekend, but I think the 3 wingers that Man United have at the moment, Rashford, Garnacho and Ahmad, they are kind of competing against each other for 3 spots basically. You've got Anthony there as well, but Anthony, come on, let's be honest, he's not really that good enough to be playing for Manchester United. So yeah, in terms of my number 10 position, I've gone with Mason Mount, because Mason Mount did was on the bench against Palace, and if you're fit enough to be on the bench, then you're fit enough to start. I think Mason Mount needs to get some match fitness, as does Rasmus Hojlund. At right wing, I've got Garnacho who is starting, and that's just, I know Garnacho, he started the last couple of games, but I do feel like as if this is a game that he should be starting as well, simply because I wouldn't be starting him against Spurs. That's why I have him starting here. He did start against Crystal Palace. He also started against, I'm pretty sure he started against Barnsley as well. Let me just check. Yeah, so he started against Barnsley and at Crystal Palace, but he didn't start against Southampton. He actually came off the bench against Southampton to score that 96th minute goal. So he has started the past 2 games, so I wouldn't be surprised if Erik ten Hag decides to change him up. But personally, I would go with Garnacho on the right, because he's not in my team for Spurs. And then finally up front, I've gone with Rasmus Hojlund. because Rasmus Hojlund, he needs to get some match fitness. And personally, like, the reason why I've gone with this lineup is because I want to see Eriksen, Mainu and Xerxes for Spurs. I definitely want to start Eriksen, Mainu and Xerxes for Spurs because they were our best players against Palace, and they have to start on the weekend. Bruno, even though he lost possession 34 times against Palace, he was a little bit bad in my opinion against Palace. I am resting him for this game, possibly bringing him back for the game against Spurs on the weekend. So how do you actually beat Twente? So Twente are big on the transitions, but I don't think they'll be as aggressive in the transitions as they have been in Eredivisie. They're going to come and try and get a point. I think they're going to try low block Manchester United. So Man United are going to have to be kind of good on the ball, good in possession, kind of strong in midfield as well. When FC Twente win the ball back, Man United are going to be wanting to look to Casemiro and Ugarte to be kind of shutting down any attacks that FC Twente can build up after they win the ball back. So I'm going to be looking to Ugarte and Casemiro as the key players to be winning the ball back when Twente want to transition quickly, because that's what they're going to want to do. They're going to win the ball back and they're going to win it, or going to want to counter-attack Manchester United quickly against that Old Trafford. So I think in any European game or any game in general, the first 30 minutes are critical. Every European game is tough. It's going to be a cup final for FC Twente. Some of them are going to be, this is the only time they're going to be playing at Old Trafford in their careers, and you're going to have to settle them down. The first 30 minutes, keep them quiet, dominate ball possession, don't give them any ball possession, dominate the ball, and and when they actually have the ball, press and win the ball back quickly, because I do believe Man United have that ability to be doing that at Old Trafford against Twente. And so control the midfield and ball possession. Don't give them any encouragement on the break. Don't miss big chances. You miss big chances, then they're going to get a sniff. They're going to think, you know what, we can get a point out of this game, which is what they're going to be looking for. Got to be clinical like Barnsley. So they're coming for a point, but we won all three. So that's how you beat them. I think the star man from Manchester United is going to be Marcus Rashford. If we can release him down that left side, and he can cut in on his right foot and kind of just shoot, then I think Man United have a good chance of winning this game and grabbing all 3 points. But I'm expecting, if Mount and Hojlund start, I'm expecting them to be kind of key in creating chances and scoring goals for United as well. That's how you beat him. In terms of my score prediction, I am going for a 2-0 Manchester United win. Scorers are going to be Rashford and Hojlund. In terms of this competition, it is a chance for some silverware and a chance to qualify for the Champions League. The winners of the Europa League do in fact qualify for the Champions League league stage. Man United, they have to win this competition if they want to get Champions League football, because I really don't think that they are good enough to be finishing in the top 4 this season. I don't think by signing 5 players in the transfer window in Mazraoui, De Ligt, Ugarte, Euro and Xerxes, that's 5 players, and Man United did let go of a host of players in the summer transfer window. I don't think signing 5 players is necessarily going to propel Manchester United into the top 4 after they finished 8th last season. So I really do believe that winning the Europa League is Man United's only chance of qualifying for the Champions League. So I really do hope Manchester United do go and win this competition. And I'm going for a 2-0 win. Hopefully Manchester United come away with all 3 points, and it's a perfect start to this new Europa League format campaign. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, comment and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.